Alright guys, so as you can see right now I'm editing this video that you're about to watch. I actually somehow lost the beginning of this video, so it's pretty much going to be just jumping right into it. This index ring will work, I believe, for 99 to 16 F250s. It's got to be the NP271 or 273 transfer case in order to work. So mine's the 273, I believe, and it just went right together. I had my index ring actually powder coated, so it might have went on just a little bit harder than what yours might. The install I honestly thought was super easy. The transfer case is super lightweight. I actually expected it to be a lot heavier than what it was, and I literally could just pick it up by myself. I actually also ran into some problems with the supplied grade 8 bolts. They, in my opinion, were not long enough because it didn't even use all the threads that were in the index ring. So honestly, even if you don't get it powder coated, it's probably still going to be a tight fit because you don't want it moving anywhere or anything. So honestly, if I were you, I would go pick up some of them 1.5-inch bolts, I think they were. So I actually couldn't find a how-to or a good video at all to find out how to do this. So I kind of just learned along the way. Ended up being a super easy install, and I just wanted, it's going to be pretty cut and dry video, but I just wanted to show you guys how to do that. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, just let me know in the comment section, and I appreciate you guys for watching. I got 2 jack stands under here, so that whenever I unbolt these, what is it, 2, 4, 6, when I take those bolts out, that hopefully it can just set straight down on these jack stands. I'm not really sure how this is going to go. As you can see, this is where I need to clean this index ring up. The surface is just uneven. So first things first, we're going to get this cleaned up, and then we're going to get that taken off and get this bolted up, and then get the transfer case clocked. Alright guys, so I took one bolt out, but whenever you do this, I would actually start at the bottom. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the reason why I'd start at the bottom is because you have one, let me see if I can find it. So this one right here is the one that's going to be not easy to get to. This bolt on the very bottom was literally like the hardest bolt ever to get out. I had to use this guy right here, and I could barely fit it on there. About like that right there is about as far as I could get on there, and got close to stripping it too. So just a tip, I would get you something that is really short, even shorter than this if possible, and something with a good bend in it to get up in there. On this ID tag it says new processing gear. And then it says 273 right here. So mine's an NP273, and you're gonna need, for the indexing ring, it's got to be an NP271 or an NP273. And so I noticed there's this little pin right here. I noticed that on the indexing ring there isn't a hole for that, and it also didn't mention anything on their website about it. So what you can do is you can either tap it out this way, he said, or you can just tap it flush back towards the transmission, which is what I'm going to do. because I'd rather not have just an empty hole there. So we're gonna go on and get that tapped through, and then get everything cleaned up real good. You can see it's pretty dirty. I've already cleaned a little bit of stuff out of there, because some of these holes right here, it leaves where dirt daubers and dirt and different stuff get up in there. Also, I checked the website, and on the website it says 15, 20, or 25 degrees, and that's what these little 3 holes are: 15, 20, or 25. Depending on your lift height and everything. Another thing you want to take in consideration, this indexing ring will push the transfer case back another 3/4 of an inch. I might end up needing custom drive shafts anyways. I don't know. We'll just see. Almost lit. Looks good. That was actually pretty easy. Didn't take any effort at all. It's sitting nice and flush now. Alright guys, I got it all good and cleaned up. Got my surface cleaned up pretty good. You just use a little wire brush and some brake cleaner. But while it's disassembled, I'll show you, since I couldn't get on video because it took me forever to figure out how to get this little bolt out. It is right, it's this one right here, and it's up under there. We'll see how it goes getting one of these in there. See, I can barely, with my fingers, barely get that. Yeah, this thing sucks. If I wouldn't have had a way to get that bolt out, it definitely would have been faster by jacking up the transmission and gaining access that way. Which I have this aftermarket cross member, so the stock cross member, shoot, I don't know, it might be easier. If this wasn't here, if this didn't come up, I probably could have accessed it from over here. But you definitely can't get a ratchet in there. You gotta get a wrench in there of some type. Okay guys, you should have 2 seals. One for transmission side, one for transfer case side. And go on and just hand tighten these in. Just hand tighten. Just until I get everything lined up. Alright guys, I couldn't find the torque specs on these right here. So I just gave them a good snug. One thing that I was asking Trevor about over the phone was how these supplied grade 8 bolts that they sent, I mean, to me they really don't stick out that much far at all. I was thinking about 1/4 of an inch. They do, he said 3/8 of an inch, and I checked it, and they do stick out 3/8 of an inch. So now we're gonna go on and get it up there and mount it up. I finally got it all mounted up after running to the hardware store. These bolts right here that PMF sent, long story short, when I went to put these on, you can tell right here at the end that it stripped, not this bolt, but it stripped the threads on the inside of the index ring. On this one, right here is where it was at, and then it was another one right there. So 2 of them did that. And the reason why I did that is because if you look, that's about how much you're getting on that. That's all you're getting, just barely a little bit. And I felt like that wasn't going to work, but as I stated earlier, if that's what they've been using, then that's what I'm going to go with. But see, the thing is, either it's because this is powder coated, or just because it's a tight fit anyways. But anyways, that index ring fits into like a little groove on the inside of here, and it's kind of got to be pulled or pressed in. So when you're tightening these up, it's pressing it into that groove, and it didn't want to stay even.
And whenever I went to tighten these two up, it really just barely has any pulls. So what it did was, instead of pulling it into that groove farther towards the transmission, it just stripped out the threads inside the index ring. Went to the hardware store. I got a 2-inch bolt and an 1.5-inch bolt. I got 6 of each because there's 6 1.25-inch bolts that PMF had sent. What I did a little bit of measuring, and I had almost a 1/2 inch more room to play with. As you can see right there, I needed about another 1/2 inch, a little bit less than a 1/2 inch is what it came out to be, but I still had more room to play with there. So that's why I went and got these 1.5-inch bolts to see how that worked out, and that's almost all the way. So I'm going to use these, but the reason why I bought the 2-inch bolt, they didn't have an 1.75-inch bolts, is why I bought the 2-inch bolts. And that's also why I bought a crap ton of washers to do this right here. If you see right here, that 2-inch bolt takes just about all of the threads that are inside that index ring and uses all those threads to pull this index ring into the groove that's inside the transmission. So I purposely bought these 2-inch bolts and washers just to use to pull into the transmission. So now that I got it good and pulled tightly, and you can tell by looking at that seal that it's pulled tightly up against the transmission. Now I'm going to go on and take out these 2-inch bolts and replace it with the 1.5-inch bolts. Got it all good and mounted up. I went on and torqued it to 22 foot-pounds. That's just what I felt comfortable with. Got it all wired up and everything. Another thing, that bolt that's down here that's hard to access, whenever you first start this, it's actually way easier to access once the transfer case is clocked, believe it or not. It looks good. I really love the red. I think that looks awesome. And I actually like the gaskets because beforehand there wasn't any gaskets on here. But as you can see, it's clocked quite a bit. This is the 25-degree. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And also tell me what you think in the comments.